Sam came to China for a visit not long ago. Now he is about to return home. He asked me what items with Chinese characteristics should he bring back. What's your ideas?
Of course, ceramic, as a kind of artworks handed down from ancient China. Ceramics have strong Chinese characteristics.
It is said that Chinese ceramics are very popular abroad.
Yes, the large-scale porcelain trade during the Ming and Qing dynasties held not only commercial purposes, it was also a form of bilateral cultural exchange. Chinese porcelain, a form of art and culture of the Chinese, resulted in immense influence on many other countries.
At that time, the Europeans viewed Chinese art as the most perfect art in the world. Chinese culture was the most splendid of them all.
Did the West also develop its own ceramic art style?
Exactly. Among those foreign custom-made porcelain products, some required realistic renderings of flowers, figures, landscapes, and architecture to decorate the surface of porcelain, while others wanted memorial insignias to be applied to porcelain.
All these foreign elements gradually but surely became a part of Chinese traditional porcelain arts, quietly changing the traditional styles. It also created a window for the Chinese to understand the outside world.
Wow, I didn't know that ceramics played such a big role in the cultural exchange between China and the West. I will tell Sam to bring some porcelain back.
Hello, everybody. Today we will welcome Professor Qiu to explain the import of Chinese porcelain in the Qing dynasty.
At the beginning of the Qing dynasty, suffering from domestic political instability, an adamant ban of the seas was in place from Emperor Shunzhi on through the early years of Emperor Kangxi. The trade ban was lifted in 1684, the 23rd year of the Kangxi period. China also began a movement of porcelain export even greater in scale than the Ming dynasty. At that time, China had retained the Japanese and Western European markets that were status quo since the Ming. The French during Louis XIV specially incorporated a China company which purchased porcelain with French decorative motifs from the province of Guangdong. As a new customer, the Tsarist Russia under Peter the Great also placed orders for Chinese porcelain. The Americas, Africa, and Australia were new trade partners seeking Chinese porcelain through various channels. The Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia were still key export markets for China.
Are they all finished products ordered in Jingdezhen?
Some of these customers ordered finished export porcelain goods directly from Jingdezhen, while some ordered unfinished white bodies in Jingdezhen to be taken to Guangzhou, Fujian, Zhejiang, or other coastal regions for further process and eventually shipment overseas. In the early 18th centuries, many European countries were granted the right to establish trade organizations in the city of Guangzhou, the earliest of which to receive the privilege was the British East India Company in 1715, followed by the French in 1728, the Dutch in 1729, the Danish in 1731, and the Swedish in 1732. This created for a more favorable export condition for Chinese porcelain. By this time, some countries have received the permit for direct passage and docking at Guangzhou. The permit was only temporary before, which further facilitated the direct shipment of Chinese porcelain to Europe. As Chinese porcelain trade developed, many countries established specialist stores that resold, distributed, or placed orders for Chinese porcelain. According to the British publication London Guide, in 1774, there were at least 52 of such stores in London. From the later half of the 17th century to the 18th century, Chinese porcelain was welcomed in all parts of the world, especially in Europe, not only as daily commodities for the masses, but also as items displaying wealth.
What were the ways of exporting Chinese porcelain at that time?
There were two main channels of outbound porcelain shipment. One through the Qing government as gifts of state to the ambassadors of other countries. The other through trade between the commoners, kings, and foreign merchants. Normally, the porcelain wares through the government channels were produced in imperial kings, while the traded porcelain goods were mostly of commoners' production. A considerable portion of the export wares were custom-made by the commoners' kings for the overseas markets according to specifications on the orders, especially those products intended for the European markets. The types, modeling, and the decorations of which were tailored to suit the changing preferences of the Europeans each year. With still increasing demand for porcelain from other countries and the need for more porcelain for daily use within the country, Jingdezhen's kings, regardless of imperial commoners' kings, met with unprecedented prosperity. They created more innovative products, including the unmatched Qinghua porcelain, the splendid Wucai porcelain, the meticulously crafted imitation antique porcelain, and the newly created Fencai, the gloriously enameled porcelain, and so on. All of these categories were truly astounding successes. When foreign merchants came to China, they first arrived in Macau. They traveled to Guangzhou in the mid-Qing dynasty. Ships flocked the ports of Guangzhou and Macau, displaying a highly flourishing commercial scenes. Some domestic merchants tried to cater to European taste. They fired white porcelain in Jingdezhen and shipped them to Canton, and would then hire other artisans to imitate Western paintings and add colored painting to the white porcelain. Then by the south shore of the Zhujiang River, the porcelains were fired and turned into colored porcelain. Finally, these colorful porcelain wares were sold to European merchants. An American traveler in 1769, the 34th year of Qianlong, paid a technical visit to the Canton carrying and further processing plant by the Zhujiang River. It was described in a workshop with a long span of space. About 300 artisans were painting images on porcelain wares. Different types of decorations were being affixed to the objects. There were old-aged workers, as well as child laborers of around 6 or 7 in age. It was most surprising that there were at least 100 of this type of workshops around.
I know this kind of processing workshop was called Guangcai.
Yes, which made many production kilns for colored processing in Jingdezhen obsolete. That's all for today. Thanks for watching it. See you next time.